Hey everybody, this is Tom from Rocket Restorations, and I'm very excited to share this one with you guys today. This is a 1970 Dodge Challenger, and what makes this one special is it's a V-Code 446 pack. What's really neat about this one is it's a factory shaker car. Super rare on these Challengers. For those of you that don't know, early in the year on Challengers you get a shaker hood, and then all of a sudden halfway through the year they stop making them, and there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of people who kind of speculate why, but let me kind of explain to you what I think happened. So the design of these is really cool. I love the recessed grille. It looks really neat, but the problem was, in an accident, if they got hit up here, it hit the hood, and the hood would just go backwards straight through the windshield and would really hurt people. So they stopped making these, and then later in the year, about April, they became available again, and they changed a few things on them. They put basically crush zones in these things. Let me show you. So right here, see these right here? So these were designed so when they got hit, they would bend up rather than go backwards. And all the early hoods are straight. They go straight through there. A lot of the 70 hoods, because they obviously couldn't stop making flat hoods, but they're straight right there, and they actually changed that. And then in 71, they actually increased the bolt size. Of course, this is 70, so it has the smaller bolts, but they actually increased the bolt size on the hood hinges in 1971, which is a clear sign. You know, car companies back then didn't do anything they didn't have to. Like, there was obviously a lawsuit or someone got sued about this, and that's why they changed it. But that's why shaker hoods are so rare on these, and they have a huge premium on these cars when they have a shaker hood. So this car kind of has a special significance to me. So, and it's not really about the car, it's more about the people who own it. So the owner of this car, a friend of mine, Steve, I've known him forever. So let me go back a little bit. So when I got into this hobby, obviously I'm on the younger end of the scale. I'm 44 now, and you know, most people in this hobby are older than I am. So when I was in high school, I bought a 1970 Dodge Charger, really super original car. I'm gonna do a video on that one day because it actually popped up a couple months ago. Mopar's 5150 had it. I'm gonna do a video on that car, but I digress. But I joined the Seattle Mopar Club when I got in high school, when I had that car, and I met a lot of really cool people there. And one of the people I met was Steve. He's the guy. He's like the perfect car guy. You know, he always had really cool cars. He kind of went through stuff. You know, he wasn't a guy who had like a ton of money. He was just a guy who loved old Mopars and would just buy and sell them. And he would buy a car and it would go way up in value. Then he'd buy a better car and then it would go up and way up in value. Then he bought a better car. You know, he was doing this in the kind of late 90s, early 2000s. In fact, the first time I ever went to Barrett-Jackson was with Steve. And it was really funny. So his last name was very similar to a person who was doing like all the buying at Barrett-Jackson at the time, Ron Pratt. And it was, so the seats he got at Barrett-Jackson were like second row for that year. I can't remember what year that was, like 03, 04, I think, probably somewhere around there. This is basically the last one he's got. And unfortunately, Steve's getting a little bit older now. You know, he's in his 80s and he's just kind of done with the car hobby. So basically he gave this one to us at Rocket Restorations to sell for him. So we're selling this one on consignment for him. And the other reason this thing has some sentimental attachment for me is, again, it's about the people. So the guy who restored this car, a friend of mine named Tim, he was basically like the guy, he was kind of my mentor in the Mopar hobby. So when I got into this, the first car I ever restored, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it who watch my channel, my gold 1972 Polara. It's in one of my shops over here. I really need to get this in the house garage this summer so I can actually drive it more. But so this 1972 Polara was the first car I ever restored. And I've always been grateful for him because I was just, you know, I was just in high school, just out of high school. I didn't know much about cars at all. Like most of what I learned from Tim. And he let me go over there every day, help him work on this thing. I mean, he was doing all the hard work on this thing, but like this is the first Mopar I ever restored. And this is kind of how I got into the Mopar restoration hobby. I restored the 72 Polara, and Tim's the guy who helped me out. So we did not restore this car, Tim did, and he did a gorgeous job on this car. So Tim's always been a Challenger guy. Tim's a generation older than I am, and you know, he always had Challengers through high school, through the 70s. This was just his thing, like he specialized. And Tim had been collecting parts for Challengers, like super nice original parts, for decades. And this car got all of the good parts that Tim had. And Steve, the owner, also made a huge effort to come up with the best parts on this car. So for example, about 15 years ago, when I was still in Rocket Restorations in downtown Olympia, I got a big lot of what are called lunch pail parts. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of that before, but that's basically a term where the workers at the factory brought parts home at night in their lunch pail. And one of the things I got was a pair of Dodge Challenger SE emblems. And these things are super, super hard to find. So everybody sees these and they assume they're Challenger, but most of the ones you see on these are for the 71 and up Charger, which is a very similar emblem. These are a little bit different, but it's actually smaller. So these are 1970 Challenger RT SE only. Well, not RTSE, just SE, but they're super, super hard to find. But these are actually assembly line pieces. They're not even NOS. And I sold those to Steve 15 years ago. That's an example of some of the quality of the parts that went on this car. Oh, I don't think I actually mentioned it's an SE. So this is not only a Dodge Challenger RT, which of course it has to be with the 446 pack, but it has the SE package. And it's got all the cool gingerbread on it. And all this is gorgeous. This is all NOS parts on this thing. Well, I shouldn't say all NOS, but like the vast majority of the parts on this thing were NOS parts that Steve had collected for this. And of course, the SE Challenger has a bunch of special parts on it. So it has the smaller rear window. So the regular Challenger is like out to here. So it actually has a fiberglass plug that goes in here. And then the vinyl top goes around. They have like little, like kind of a fiberglass mat that goes on there to kind of make up the difference. But it's actually a small rear window, and then it has the black paint inside the trim right there. Really cool option. And it got you all the trim. This was optional on the other Challengers, but you got the belt molding trim. You got the trim around the back of the hood, which this stuff is just getting super, super hard to find. And then it had the molding on the front valence as well. And of course, these came standard with leather interior. You could get cloth. That was I believe, a no-cost option on these things. And they also got a really cool, like, it's kind of a cardboard headliner, I guess. And it has like felt around it. It's a really neat option. And then you also got an overhead console, which is right up there, which is telling me the door is now ajar, which of course it is. And then your seatbelts aren't buckled, which of course I'm not because I just got in here. And then the middle one right there is the low fuel light. I'll show you that when I start the car up. And then of course every Charger RT came with a rally dash standard, which is really neat. And this thing's loaded. This was a dealer demonstration car. So this car was definitely Tim's kind of passion project. It took a long time to get this car done, but it was done very, very well, and it's a really good restoration. A friend of mine, Dan Nordman, did the paint and body on this. He actually also did the paint and body on my 72 Polara. And I know the kind of work he does, and it's excellent. Very, very good. Okay, so this thing was originally from a little bit of history on it. This car was originally from California, has N95 California emissions on it, and we're actually not sure what dealer it came from. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to trace the history back that far. So as far back as we've been able to go is Steve bought this thing in the year 2000. He actually had Galen Govier come out with him to inspect the car in eastern Montana. And what's funny is since this car came here, I actually traced back some original history for it. It was in a town near Sidney, Montana, which is almost to North Dakota, very far eastern Montana. And a guy there actually owned the car in the early 80s. So we've actually been able to trace some history back, but we haven't been able to go back to zero, basically. But we know it's a dealer demonstrator with all the options it's have, and this thing is absolutely loaded, which we'll go over the options in a second here. A couple things I just want to show you that have been added. It was not originally a spoiler car, so that was added. And it originally didn't have exhaust tips either. So it's an N95 car from California, and California cars had noise reduction package on Hemi and six-pack cars, where they just had turn downs on the back because it was quieter rather than the exhaust tips. But Steve really liked the exhaust tips, so those were added. It's also originally had a 323 open, and it currently has a sure grip in it, which as far as I'm concerned is a pretty good upgrade. So let me go over the fender tag with you. So I just want to say, first off, I know the fender tag experts on here are going to look at this and be like, that's not an original tag, and you are correct. So this car did not have a fender tag when it was purchased, but they actually found the original broadcast sheet underneath the glove box. So we have the original broadcast sheet in here that verifies all the codes on the tag. So no, this is not an original fender tag, but we do have a broadcast sheet to back it up. The only shame about this car is if it had one more option, it would have been a 2-tag car, which would have been pretty neat. Galen Govier made the tag back in that early 2000s. So, all right, let's go through the fender tag codes here. E87 is 446 pack. D32 is automatic, which, by the way, they only made 15 Dodge Challenger RTSE hardtops with a shaker hood. 15. This thing is extremely rare. JS29, J is Challenger, S is for RT, 29 is the SE package. That was the roof lines with the small rear window. V is the 446 pack. 0 is the year, 1970. P is the plant, Hamtramck. 353316 is the sequence number. FE5 is the color, red. HR is high trim. R is leather. X9 is black. 000 is the upper door frame color. There is no upper door frame colors in e-bodies because they have full door panels. 527 is the SPD scheduled production date, which is May 27th, which again, after Shaker Hood production started back up. 155632 is the vehicle order number. V1X is black vinyl top, which all SEs had because they had to do that to cover the rear window. A01 is light package. A62 is rally dash and standard on a Charger RT. B51 is power brakes and has power disc brakes on it. They didn't put B51 on Hamtramck tags. C15 is deluxe seatbelt group. It's actually a really cool option. You don't see this very often on Challengers. So it actually has push buttons rather than the aircraft style. C16 is console. C26 is overhead console. C55 is bucket seats. C62 is six-way seat. Really nice option on these, especially for tall guys like me. It gives you a lot more adjustment with the seat. G36 is dual painted mirrors. Dual painted mirrors. I said this thing's absolutely loaded. J45 is hood pins. M21, M25, and M31 are the moldings. That's drip rail, belt, and sill. N41 is dual exhaust. And you notice it does not have N42 on it. That's because it's California emissions. N95 is TAC, which was standard with the rally dash. N95 is California emissions. N96 is the Shaker hood. P31 is power windows. Again, super cool option on these. It's really, really rare. You don't see power windows on these very often. It's really nice to have. R35 is AM/FM radio. V6X is the black side stripe, RT. A lot of options on these for that. You get a Bumblebee that was actually painted on a Challenger. Bumblebees were decals and everything else, but the Challenger was actually painted. But this one has the side stripe. Y05 is built to US specs, and EN1 is end of codes on the first line at the Hamtramck plant. Wanted to show you some of the documentation too. When I look at a car, one of the biggest things I always looked for is how well the car is documented. Did the owner save receipts? Did the owner save like all the documentation and paperwork? Is it all presented well? It just tells you that the owner really cared about the car, and it's just a sign of a well done car when you see this kind of stuff. So here's the original broadcast sheet. Has the sequence number up there, SPD 527, vehicle order number, the VIN number, Y13, an actual dealer demonstrator car, pretty neat. E87 6-pack, automatic, 323 without sure grip, T14, 14-inch tires. Has the correct tires on it. You know, not every Challenger came with 15s. Everybody puts 15s on a Challenger, but not everyone came with them. Some interesting notes on here. They put JS29, and this was found on the glove box. So every broadcast sheet you find has different notes. You know, most of the ones you find are underneath the back seats or the front seats or under the carpet. This was actually a dash one. So they definitely looked at different stuff on here that was different. So they circled the power windows. They circled the instrument panel wood grain. They circled the AM/FM because that's the stuff they had to know that was unique for this dash, basically. A lot of really rare options on here. The C15 seatbelts has a J46 lock and gas cap. A lot of really good detail on here. Again, if anybody wants detailed pictures of any of this stuff, please just let me know. All right. So we've got owner's manual. Here's the Gallon registry report from 2009. So at the time he had 71 446-pack RTSEs accounted for from the Hamtramck plant. They were also built at Los Angeles that year. Here's the breakdown of, it's a one of one, which I don't like the whole one of one thing. That always just kind of bothers me because like, if you on a Mopar, there's a million different options on these things, so you can really break them down to minutia to get to 101. But there's 7 known Shaker cars, and again, it's 1 of 15 is that. These are all the ones that were known at the plant as of 2009. I'm sure Gallon's got different ones there. And then it was 1 of 15 JS23 RTSE with Shaker. Total production was 184 with shaker hoods. Again, extremely rare. And this is 7 of 15 known by Galen as of that point. Here's a breakdown of the fender tag from Galen, which, of course, I did that by memory because I'm me. Here's a breakdown of the broadcast sheet with all the codes. Again, I don't have enough time to go through all this, but Galen's seal of approval there. We got some like emails from people. Here's pictures of it when it was picked up. The original title there. There's the transport receipt when it was shipped from Montana back to Washington. But yeah, that's what it looked like when he picked it up. It was a pretty nice car. So it had the spoiler on at the time. Had the hood blackout too. He didn't put that back on. It was in Hardin, Montana. I said, lots of good information here. So here's all the receipts from everything. He's got NOS part receipts in here. Just tons and tons and tons of stuff here. NOS PCV valve, the carb lines. I mean, look how thick this is. Just an insane amount of paperwork on this car. Here's NOS shocks he bought for it, NOS side marker lenses. He has all the receipts on the restoration from Tim. Pat Blaze did the transmission. He's famous in the Seattle area for being like the guy to do torque flights, comp cams before they went to complete junk. Yep, tons of stuff here. This car presents very, very well underneath the hood. And now we'll show you a bunch of engine detail with the shaker hood off. And we got the shaker stuff off. I want to show you under hood with all that so you can see all the beautiful jewelry underneath here. Sorry for the light, but it's, you know, shaker hood. Kind of ends up bleeding through there. Everything's really nice underneath here. I believe that's an NOS radiator hose right there. You can tell the difference because this has the, see it has the crosshatch on there? The Repo ones generally don't have that. So you can see on the heater hoses right here, how it doesn't have that. Those always do. So that's kind of a neat piece. Correct shaker cable right there. Coil with the correct part number, voltage regulator with the part number. It's a reproduction. It's got I think that's for the electronic ignition, the extra post on the valve resistor there. Beautifully restored wiper motor. That's the date code on that. Date code is 0960, which is perfect for the car. That's like March of 70. This is a May 27th built car. Has the original sticker underneath there. Everything looks really nice. You may notice some people might be commenting why it doesn't have a reproduction Mopar battery, because they suck. We have not ever gotten more than a year out of those, and they're terrible, and I won't use them anymore because they're super duper expensive and they die if you don't drive them like every day. Correct radiator, correct number, 960. Just a little couple like little details. That melted on the exhaust manifold. That fell off at some point. That's just the shock thing that goes on there, hold the battery cable up. So that probably needs to be replaced. That's not a big deal. Those are like $10 reproduction. Later firewall there with the 3 nipples for the emission stuff for 71. Beautiful restoration underneath here. 10970 is that manifold. So that's actually a 71 manifold. That's probably a little bit too late for the car. So that's not technically correct with the date code. This side is 3279 and that's good. Maybe a little bit early for the car. That's like November 69 on a Maybuild car. Maybe a little bit early, but I think they're both the correct part numbered, but the date code's just a little hair off. Here's the shaker base right here. Of course, NOS, made in Canada. Even has the correct feet, which everybody always misses because, you know, these giant air cleaner assemblies are super heavy. All it is holding 2 wing nuts on there. That's it. So if you have the feet, it doesn't like attach to the valve covers, but it just kind of rests on it. So the stuff doesn't move quite as much. But everything's really nice underneath here. And I believe this is a correct original stuff here. The base definitely is. I'm pretty sure the ring's original too. This stuff is impossible to find now. And here's the top of the bubble. Again, beautiful condition. Sorry, it's a little dusty. I need to finish detail on that, but it's in real good condition. I'm fairly sure this is original. I'm not a super expert on shaker hoods, but everything looks original. Let me show you the underneath here. There's a lot of NOS parts on this thing. Here's the underside. Has the, so I think that means it was an NOS bubble because they got the ink stamp. Even the repos have the part number. So if you see a part number underneath, it doesn't mean it's not a repo. But looking at this one, I'm pretty sure this is an original one. It was originally Argent, so it was probably for a 70. 71 that went to black. Again, this is a real late build car. Nope, missed one screw there. Have to see if I can fix that. But again, NOS parts, because it's got the stamp on it, made in Canada. Real nice pieces on here. Has the ground straps. Everything functions beautifully here. Another quick note too, Tim, who restored this, doesn't like having the hood catch and the hood spring on there, because with hood pins, he doesn't believe you need them, and then it scratches that. We have those, they're in the trunk, they're all restored, but I just wanted to make a note of that. If anybody knows that's missing, that was on purpose by the restorer. Honestly, I should probably just put it back on. This thing basically has almost no miles on it since the restoration, so whoever does this is going to get a very original car. And Steve thought that was original miles, 61,000, but there's really no way to verify that. Oh, I think I forgot to mention this earlier. That is a factory shaker hood. That's not an AMD hood. It's a factory hood. It's considered a 71 hood because of the crumple zones. But from the research I've done, and feel free to post in the comments if you think this is different, but most of the later shaker hoods I've seen have those crumple zones on them. And I believe that it would be correct for this car being built so late in the year. Steve paid a lot of money for that hood, like a lot of money. I think he paid $5,000 for that hood. There's a lot of really, really good parts that went in this car when the restoration was happening. Another neat thing about the SEs, they actually have carpet on the rear doors with these little reflectors. Very neat little piece there. There's an extra switch right there, because that's for the door ajar on the console. They actually have special switches right here too, because there's like multiple things that does. And then it has a extra dome lamp on the overhead console right there. Really neat. Here's a picture of the door sticker. Of course, that's a reproduction, not original. The car was painted, you know, that has to be done when that's done. And the VIN tag is up here, which looks very, very nice. And of course, everything matches on that. All right, let's start it up. Give her one pump. She is a bit cold-blooded, I will freely admit that. We had to do some messing around with the choke and everything to make it work. When Tim put the motor together, he actually blocked off the heat crossover. So there is no heat crossover on this. So it does warm up kind of slow. It doesn't have the flapper on the exhaust manifold too. So just FYI, want to let everybody know that. It's kind of a trade-off on these, because if you don't block that off, they tend to start really hard when they're warm, versus if you don't, then they don't start as well cold. So kind of a catch-22. Factory AM FM radio, super hard to find, 70 only. Here is the shaker hood cable right here. So you pull that out to open the shaker to get fresh air in. Press it that way to get closed. Very cool. Clock is working. All the gauges are working. They tend to read a little bit low, and I don't know why. It's generally the voltage limiter, but it has one of the aftermarket electronic ones in, so you think it'd be working okay. And it should be the original sending unit as well. I double checked that, because we have a lot of problems with the reproduction sending units. These tend to read like a quarter low. This one tends to be, it looks to be pretty accurate, though I haven't filled it up. TAC tends to read a little bit high. I mean, it's idling right now at 1200. It's probably not quite that high. But yeah, looks like everything works underneath here. Let me try the radio. Yep, radio works. I can't actually play radio on YouTube because they'll ding me for the songs. And then rear speaker fader right there. Let's try the heater. Yep, that works right there. Fan works great. The adjustable remote mirror. And then of course it's got power windows. Usually you want to do this while the car's running, just because the windows take a lot of juice to run. It goes right up like that. Of course, tinted windows is to be expected. Tim's like an expert at Challenger power windows. He's been obsessed. Every car, every Challenger he's ever owned, he's put power windows into, and it's a super rare option, so they all work really, really well. Okay, headlamps. Yep, they're on. Dash lights are on. I'm not gonna try the wipers on a dry windshield. That's just asking for trouble. E-brake. Yep, that works good. Turn signals, left, right. Try the hazards. Yep, everything works just like it should. All right, let's go for a little test drive. We should probably open the shaker, right? The answer to that is almost always yes, unless it's raining. And honestly, let's be honest with ourselves, this thing's not gonna get driven in the rain. It's not how we're gonna roll in this thing. Look how nice that mirror is. You can see me. This is day night. Man, you don't see them that well very often. The SC package does limit your rear view vision a little bit. With that small window, you've got some pretty big pillars on this thing. Feels a little low. I should probably put a couple gallons in. And it works up there too. I know I showed you that earlier. Just want to make sure, show you all that works. Honestly, it doesn't drive down the road great. I think Tim told me that this thing never had an alignment after it's together, so it could probably use an alignment. It also has bias ply tires, which look great, but they obviously, a nice motor radial will drive better. But man, this thing, you know, these things drive pretty good with all the heavy duty suspension bits to them. Love that shaker hood. Is there anything cooler than that? Keep in mind, the motor's not really broken in yet, so I'm not going to do any like high-speed trials here. I'll get on it in a minute here just to kind of show you how it goes, but it's you know, 446 pack, goes great. All right, brake check. It says the factory original disc brakes. Oop. Little tile squeal. They work good. You know, typical tiny bit over boosted Mopar disc brakes, but that kind of comes with the territory. Honestly, I really prefer manual brakes on these. They just have better feel. And the most annoying sound in the world works too. The key buzzer. What an awful, awful noise. No elk today, unfortunately. They should just cut the grass out here. I don't know who they bring in to hay it, but they just hate it. But the elk usually go up in the mountains. There's a big mountain range behind us in the summer. In the winter, they're down here though. But what a gorgeous car and a gorgeous backdrop. Didn't see this earlier, but super cool. Factory Scat Pack sticker. All the Scat Pack Dodges got that in 1970. And I believe it's reproduction ECS glass, but it has all the decodes and part numbers on it. Windshield's got it there too. And here's the trunk, which about the coolest license plates ever. 6-pack shaker. Here's a really good lesson right here on how to spot original quarter panels or not. So you can see right here, this has been painted obviously, but see how there's no undercoating on there? So you can tell that that's been changed because the factory would have undercoating there. Just a little bit. This did have quarters in the trunk band, but it was done very, very well. These are really nice. Has the top on the rear, has a California emissions vent pipe back there. Here's the filler neck. Original, well, not original, but you know, polyglass spare in there. Here's a notebook with all the paperwork. We'll go over that in a little bit. I'll show you all that. Lots of stuff there. There's the catch I was telling you about in the hood spring. I honestly probably should just put those on because I think that's what most people are going to want. All the jack stuff's there. Original and very, very nice. And again, no undercoating on the quarters over there, so you can tell those have been done. It's gonna be kind of hard to get the trunk mat up here. Let me see what I can do. Peeled up a little bit there. On the other side, the jack's there, so you can't really take it up, but everything looks really nice on there. The metalwork and bodywork was top rate on this car. All right, let's see what she'll do. Let's punch it a little bit. Gonna go a little bit easier on her because she's still not fully broken in, but ooh, man. Picks up speed quick when those secondaries open up. These things are quick. And of course the rim blow wheel, which you squeeze the wheel and it horns. I've had a lot of people say in the comments that I give too much detail in a video when I'm trying to sell a car, which I don't really understand that because, you know, basically how I do these videos is like, if I was interested in buying this car, I do the video from the perspective of showing what I would want to see and ask if I were trying to buy the car. So that's where I come from on these videos. Okay, so just want to point out the one little issue with this car. So as I said, Galen went with Steve to buy this car in 2000, inspected it and checked everything out. So what's really weird about this car is it does not have a cal number to it. Sorry, core support number, not cal number. So normally it would have the stamp right here for the body number. It was just missed on this car. This is super common on cars. I mean, I guess super common isn't the right word, but I've seen a lot of these over the years. Galen said he's seen 50 or 60 that they just missed the cal number. You know, these were going down an assembly line. It wasn't like every car was like, I mean, stuff got missed. These were mass production. It wasn't like anybody thought this car would be a 1 of 15 car down the road. You know, it's just what happened back in the day. So this got missed. And I said, this thing was down to bare metal. They had the trunk done, they had the quarters done. There was no evidence of anyone else putting in another core support. Even if it did have another core support in it, which it doesn't, it would have another body number if it was off another original car. When this car was done, these core supports were not available aftermarket. This was done, the paint was done 15 years ago now, I think, maybe 20 years ago. And the stuff just wasn't available at the time. So, so I just want to point that out. And then the cal number up here, which again is on the cal, it's kind of hard to read because I can't get this to focus. but this is actually misstamped as well. So the VIN on the car is 355316. If you see this, this is 355313. And again, I think they just transposed two of the numbers there when they were doing the stamp on the assembly line. It's unfortunate that they made a mistake like this on a car of this caliber. So Galen looked at this car, he blessed it, he said it was okay. Just, you know, full disclosure on this car, there is no core support number, and the cal number had two numbers transposed. Also keep in mind that the first thing Steve did when he got this thing home in 2000 was to check for a broadcast sheet, and there was a broadcast sheet that matches the VIN tag that was behind the glove box door. This car had never been apart until Steve got it. In fact, he texted Galen after that. Well, I guess he emailed him. I don't know if texting was a thing in 2000. And all Galen sent back was, well, now we 100% know it's authentic, know that it's the real car, and it has a shaker hood. That broadcast sheet fixed everything. And now we're going to show you the underside of the car. I always try to show these things up on the lift so there's really nothing to hide. It has the original tabs underneath there. Nice undercoating down here. It doesn't have the repo mufflers on it, but it said this was restored a few years ago before those were available from ECS. Of course, 8 3/4. I know everybody's up in arms. Oh, 446 packs should all have Danas. Well, they should have Danas, but they don't. Dana was optional. So if you had the stock gears, that's what you got. And of course, the 49 case with the correct markings on it. Very nice restored car underneath here. And of course, 10-inch drums, because when you got disc brakes, you got the 10-inch drums. 71, they gave you the 11s. It has the correct red inside, because any style wheel, Rally or Magnum 500, came with red drums. Nice mufflers, dated 570. Everything's really clean and really nice underneath here. Undercoated car. And of course, it's got 3 brake lines. That's one's California emissions, one's the main fuel line, one's the return line. Has the paint inspection markings. There's not like every single one on here, but you know, the vast majority of them are there. Correct Cosmoline dipped lower control arms. Bit of surface rust in the upper control arms, so that's because they're bare metal. Not sure why they use Dynamat on the front wheel well here. I definitely would have done the correct undercoating there, but I'm not sure what they were trying to get at there. Correct yellow tranny mount. There is a little drip back here, but it's not bad. I mean, it's a Mopar 727. If there's not a leak on them, there's nothing left in them. It's a 6-way seat car, so it has the extra reinforcement brackets for that. It's a really nice option on these. Makes them way more comfortable to drive. All the kick down or the shifter linkage is all there and in good shape. And they put a mini starter on it. Gives you a lot more room than the factory starter. And a blackout on the front. License plate bracket. I said everything looks very, very nice underneath here. Has the original polyglass tires. I mean, they're reproduction polyglass tires, but the F70 14s, which really just have a very good look on these. Torque boxes. The 6-pack car's got those. Front and rear. Those look like they're in excellent shape. A lot of times you get these things are really damaged because people would jack the cars up by that point, and it wouldn't be right. Or they dented, I guess. Front torque box up there. All right, let's look at the numbers, because the best part about this car is it's a numbers matching car, which is pretty unusual on a 6-pack car. So the casting date is 2/9/70. Okay, so here's the engine VIN. It is OB 353316, and that's correct. I hope you can see that. There is quite a bit of paint on there. I'll have if nobody wants a better picture of that with my phone, I'm absolutely willing to help out with that, no problem. And then the trans VIN is right here on the passenger side on the bell housing, OB 353316. So numbers matching, very nice. And then on this side, the super duper hard to find 3410672. That's the correct 6-barrel trans. And casting number right up there. It's a -7 block. Means the 7th time to use the casting. Everything's really good. Has the correct 12-point bolts on the steering box. Nice looking torsion bars there. It's the correct super heavy duty 718 torsion bar and 780. Absolutely correct ones there. All the correct fasteners for the transmission crossmember. There's the correct wide mouth calipers. Again, super duper hard to find those now. The cores are just not even out there anymore. Yep, no rust issues whatsoever. This car was completely restored front to back. So the correct undercoating on there. Still has the tab on the quarter panel extension there. Wheels all just look really, really good. No rocker rust whatsoever. Nothing hiding on this car. Wow, he actually got correct. Those are correct part numbered tie rod ends. That's cool. Those are not easy to find anymore. Let's see, you got the correct part number on there. That's really neat. PDRR, correct lower control arms. Of course, in 70, the sway bar went to the middle. On the 69B body, they were on the end. And then the date code right there. Sorry if you can hear me in the background. He's going nuts in the background, barking at people coming in the driveway, my guard dog. All right, so yeah, date code on that is 1970, 91st day of 70 on the right. On the left is 1970, first line, first shift. On this one, it's again 1970, second line, second shift, and then 78th day of 1970, which lines up perfectly with the car. It's an NOS Pitman Arm 2, very nice. There's a lot of really, really good parts on this car. There's all the N95 lines there with the correct shield. Of course, California emissions car. These rocker panels on these look really good. These are gorgeous. Really, really nice pieces. NOS wheel well trim. The more you look at this, the better this car gets. Yeah, so Steve's kind of sad to see when this go. I mean, this was the car that Steve was always going to keep. You know, the only reason he's selling this is this was supposed to go to his son. It was never supposed to leave the family. But unfortunately, his son passed away way too young a couple years ago. He can't keep it. Steve's 81. He has Parkinson's, and it needs to go. So, but you know what? There's a great opportunity out there, someone, to get a great car, a 1 of 15 V-Code Factory Shaker Challenger. They just didn't make that many of these. So if anyone's interested in the car, I'm not going to post the price in the ad. There's multiple reasons why I do this. Keep in mind, this is not going to be a cheap car. This is a 6-figure car. I'll just leave it at that. But for any information, please contact me at tom@rocketresto.com. I'll post my email here in the ad so you can see it. We also have another independent. So not only Galen looked at this thing, but we have another independent report that was done a couple months ago by a local person. Evaluation of the car that wasn't just us, and they basically say the same things we did in it. So if anyone wants to copy that, I don't mind sending that at all. Again, just shoot me an email, tom@rocketresto.com. I'll send you more info on the car. All right, well, this is Tom from Rocket Restorations. I appreciate everybody for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.